we go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I did that again. But I am going to mute everybody too. I forgot to do that. So there's mute all. So our first lesson from Exodus, Moses going to be with God up on the mountain. God's been pretty mad because of the golden calf, and he's not going with the people anymore. So Moses said to the Lord, "See, you have said to me, bring up this people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, I know you by name, and you have also found favor in my sight. Now this is Moses speaking. Now, if I find favor in your sight, show me your ways so that I may know you and find favor in your sight. Consider too that this nation is your people." He said, God says, "My presence will go with you and I will give you rest." And he said to him, "If your presence will not go, do not carry us up from here. For how shall it be known that I have found favor in your sight, I and your people, unless you go with us? In this way we shall be distinct, I and your people, from every people on the face of the earth." Long pause. The Lord says to Moses, "All right, I will do the very thing that you have asked, for you have found favor in my sight, and I know you by name." Moses said, Moses is, he's found favor in God's sight. It's kind of like pillow talk, you know? All right, he stopped being angry. So he's going to ask him for a little bit more now. "Show me your glory, I pray." And he said, "I will make all my goodness pass before you and will proclaim before you the name, the Lord. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious and will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. But," he said, "you cannot see my face, for no one shall see me and live." And the Lord continued, "See, there is a place by me where you shall stand on the rock. And while my glory passes by, I will put you in a cleft of the rock, and I will cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen." It's the end of the first lesson. All right. Who's got Matthew? I think it's Paula. You got to unmute yourself.
The Pharisees went and plotted to entrap Jesus in what he said. So they sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians, saying, "Teacher, we know that you are sincere and teach the way of God in accordance with truth and show deference to no one. For you do not regard people with partiality. Tell us then, what do you think? Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not?" But Jesus, aware of their malice, said, "Why are you putting me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin used for the tax." And they brought him a denarius. Then he said to them, "Whose head is this and whose title?" They answered, "The emperor's." Then he said to them, "Give therefore to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and to God the things that are God's." When they heard this, they were amazed, and they left him and went away.
What we're talking about here is Imago Dei. You know, it's the image of God, and the idea that we are made in the image of God. But what is the image of God? You know, it's against the rules to show any image of God within Judaism and many religions. And so, what is the image of God? And you know, Moses wants to see God's face. I mean, there's something about being able to see each other's faces, isn't there? It's like you know, I had my face mask on going into a Menards on my way to Chicago a few weeks ago, and I was walking in, and a guy came out and said, "Pastor Dave." I had no clue who he was because he had a mask on, and I said, "I'm really sorry, but I don't recognize you." And he pulled his mask down. It was John Rutger. It was Tara's husband, John, over in Hudson area. And we chatted for a good half hour, and it was great to see him. But then he put his mask back up. There's something about seeing each other's faces that is so important, and we want to see. So Moses wants to see God's face. God says, "It's not possible. You would die if you saw my face." You know, and it reminds me of a midrash story about a rabbi who, you know, back, you know, a few thousand years was going up to the king of Rome, the Roman king, to lobby for his people. And he'd done this plenty of times. And when he went to the king, he always knew that it started with a question. If you could answer the king's question, then you could talk to him further. If you couldn't answer the king's question, you were kicked out of the castle, and then you were sent on your way, and it was probably going to get worse for your people. So he decides he needs to go and talk to the king because he's making these rules that are just crushing the Jewish people. So he screws up his courage, and he walks over, and he gets closer and closer. As he's going down the road in Rome, he sees all these statues of the Roman gods. You know, he's got, you know, there's some statues with, you know, holding a fish. There are some statues, you know, with a spear, some with swords, you know, some with grapes or wheat, you know, all these different depictions of God's image going up this road. And he gets into the inner sanctum where he's going to have an audience with the king. And he's called in, and the king asks, you know, "Well, you know how this goes. My question is, you know, you've seen all our gods out there in all the statues that are so beautiful. Don't you agree they're beautiful?" "Yeah, they're beautiful." "Show me a picture of your God, and then we'll have a conversation." And the rabbi thinks to himself, I really had it now. I'm in trouble. And then it dawns on him. Okay, he says, "I will, but you have to come outside with me." So he brings the king outside, and he points up to the sun, and he says, "Before I show you God, you have to look at that sun. You have to look at that sun and stare at the sun for a little while." And the king says, Are you a fool? I could never do that. You know, I would go blind." And he says, "Well, our God is so much more brilliant and powerful than that sun. If he ever showed himself to us, we would die on the spot. He's far more than the sun. He made the sun." And the king, "Okay, what can I do for you?" That's a good way to look at it. But Imago Dei, you know, what is the image of God? And we are formed in the image of God, all of us. So I'd like to begin with a little exercise today, and I'm going to put you in breakout groups for 5 minutes. And after 4 minutes, I'm going to send you a little notice saying I'm closing the breakout rooms. So you'll be in a breakout room with 4 other people, so 5 to a room, and you get 1 minute each to answer this question, okay? You have to answer the question in any way you want. As I pull this together, I'm going to get the breakout rooms here. 5 breakout rooms. There you go. Now, here's the other thing is, if you're on a phone and you can't go to a breakout room, just stay here in the main room, and we'll be a breakout group together. And that's the way it will work. So the question is this, and if there are kids around, they can be a part of this too. The question is this, and if there are two people in your little square there, we'll figure out the timing, but just to try to do it. So here's the question is this. Looking back on Halloween, what was the most memorable favorite costume that you ever had or had to make for your kids? All right, so that's it. You've got 5 minutes. You can go to the breakout rooms or stay here if you need to. Here we go. Dennis, you have to unmute yourself.
Dave,
Yes.
We were trying to figure out what that had to do with the gospel message. So were you wondering if anyone ever tried to make a God costume and appear as God?
Please mute yourself, John. Oh, good one. I hope that was fun. If I know for some of you, I know some of you probably got all anxious because some folks are absolutely wanting nothing to do with costumes at all. And my wife Karen will break out into a sweat if she has to think about costumes. So it's been my department for all these years. And so all the costume possibilities that are out there, I hope you had fun with it. You know, Halloween's coming, and I know that, you know, the CDC recommends not doing anything with trick-or-treating, which is sad for me. But how does that have anything to do with our lesson? Here's the question is, if I asked you to show me a picture of Halloween and you showed me a picture of a ghost dressed up in a white sheet with two eyes cut out, it wouldn't be sufficient enough to know what Halloween is. If you showed me then a pirate with a sword and a hook arm, I still would be, you know, a little baffled as to what's going on. If you showed me a horde of kids running around with a bag of candy, or knocking on doors, or ringing bells, or ghouls, or monsters, or Cinderella, or the Little Mermaid, or like the little baby that I saw last year that showed up at our door in a little pea pod. Here's a pod, and then the baby's face is in, it's just a little pea pod. And they even put green on the face of the baby, you know, so it kind of blended in with the costume. If you showed me that baby dressed as a pea pod, would I know what Halloween is? No. So we keep going. You actually need to show pictures of people passing out the candy. You'd have to show pictures of folks shopping to get candy and putting them in a bowl. You'd have to show, you know, you'd have to show people putting decorations up in their yards, cardboard tombstones, and spiders that drop down. You'd have to show Crystal at the city hall with a bowl of spaghetti, fresh and warm, having kids put their hands in this bowl behind a sheet while she tells them that that's a brain that they're feeling. Would that be enough to show Halloween? Or how about the skinned grape as an eyeball? I remember that one too. That might have been Crystal as well. So what about a corn maze? You know, what about a pumpkin patch? So you've got pumpkins that are being carved with eyes and nose and mouth, but you've also got pumpkins being carved to look like a cat with a big fluffy tail. What one image would give you the idea of Halloween? It would have to be all of them together, and the participation. And it looks like I have to have Crystal unmute her screen there.
When I think of Halloween, I think of our mayor. A few years ago, he had set up a corpse on a table with a guillotine, and he would pull the string and the cabbage head would roll and drop into a pail. And that was his idea of Halloween. And I'll never forget that. That was Willard Anderson.
Yeah, he stopped being mayor after that.
No, I don't know.
Well, the part of the point I'm making is we get dressed up for Halloween, and I've always said this, it's a wonderful metaphor because it's the only time of our entire life when we're actually given the charge to dress up any way we want. We could be anything. And we were expected to go to our neighbors and ring their doorbells. And they're expected to come out and share a treat with us, and participate. And of course, there are some that don't, and you usually know who those are. The houses are darkened. They might be in there, but they're not going to answer the bell. And we even here in Lauderdale, we've got the posters, the sheets that if you bring a bag of candy to City Hall, they pack bags ahead of time for kids. So one stop and you get 75, houses. It's kind of cheating, but then you can put that sheet in your window to not be bothered that night. And but for the most part, it's the only night of the year that it's expected that we're gonna somehow interact with each other, and we're gonna take it in a joyful, fun way, and we're not gonna pass judgment on anybody's costume, but we always do. At least I do, passing judgment on, the seniors in high school that show up, with a letter jacket and a bag for candy. It's like, and they show up at like 10 o'clock at night. And it's like, who are you? I'm a high school kid. And it's like, all right, it's still Halloween. I should give you some candy and let it go at that, But that's the night that we can, and I always say to them, I'm so glad you're trick-or-treating. I hope you keep doing it for the rest of your life. Yeah, mister, you're weird. And then they go, it's like trick-or-treating is, I think, a metaphor for a Christian life together as community. We are expected to rely on each other and to give each other the benefit of the doubt and to accept whatever costume we show up in, whether it's a Cinderella or whether it's a race car driver or a Ninja Turtle or a ghoul or a Frankenstein or the Headless Horseman or a Presbyterian or a Catholic or a Lutheran or an atheist. And it goes on and on. And that's the night that we symbolize that. And I think it's beautiful. So I think the rest of the year, the days of the year, we're trick-or-treating as well. We just don't call it that, right? It's more complicated. The rest of the year, we still need to rely on each other. We still need to metaphorically ring each other's bells, asking for support and care and hope and help and love and acceptance and the benefit of the doubt. But we generally don't open our doors too quickly. We want to see if we know who's out there. And then only when we are sure that it is somebody that we want to open to, if they're in the right costume, if they're the right color, if they're the right gender, if they're if they've got a job, if they've got a place to live, if they've, the list goes on and on. If they love the right person, and somehow internally we grow up with these assumptions about who's safe and who's not safe, and for good reasons. I mean, we can't always be be that open, but I know some people that are that open and they're still alive. They can't live alone. They're usually in a group home and they're full of so much love. It's like it's hard for us to be that when we're healthy, able-bodied people. So Jesus shows up with his disciples at the temple, and they're trick-or-treating, all right. They're trick-or-treating just like we do every day, except at this temple There are only certain kinds of people that can go trick-or-treating in there, and he brings all of them in with him. And the powers that be come out to try to push them along, because, you know, it's obvious that these people, you know, they don't belong here, and they're trying to trick Jesus now. They've been asking questions and they've been confronting him, and he gave them a number of parables. The last one being about the wedding guest. Now take this into account. It's the wedding guest who sneaks in and doesn't take a wedding robe, doesn't take a Halloween costume at all. He thinks he's dressed just fine the way he is. He's not going to actually take a wedding robe that will cover over the costume that he always wears. You know, and the wedding garment was supposed to be there so that everybody in the room is equal now. Everybody, from Pharisees to Sadducees to governors to mayors to police officers to winos to just name it. Everybody wears the same garment, and no one can be told, you can't tell anybody apart. But this guy wouldn't do it. And Jesus says, the king takes him and says, cast him out. What makes you think you can be a part of this on your own merit, on your own costume, on your own, but you put on this wedding garment? And the wedding garment is the garment that we wear as a Christian community in the world. We put it over our Republican Party. We put it over our Democratic Party. We put it over our cisgenderism. We put it over our transgenderism. We put it over our married. We put it over our divorced. We put it over everything. And we show up and we are given the benefit of the doubt, and we are loved and we are accepted and we are given a treat. We are given a treat, and we're expected to give a treat to each other too. And Jesus sees them again, and they're going to try to trick him the last time here. And they think they can do it, by showing, is it lawful to pay tax to Caesar? And, the Jews are being crushed by Rome. And of course, all the people that are listening to Jesus now are wanting to hear this answer. Everybody is, but it's a trick question. It's not a treat. It's trying to trap him. And he answers by saying, well, why didn't you give me do you have a coin? And they bring him a coin, and one of the Pharisees hands him the coin. Now, I always say that it was illegal. It was not proper. It was not in the purity codes for anybody that was righteous to be able to touch a Roman coin, because it had an image of Caesar on it. And Caesar was known as a god. Caesar was God. Caesar was known as the Son of God. And here's a picture of Caesar, and the Pharisee hands it to him. Obviously, he's defiled now, but he's not thinking that. And that's the backstory. And then Jesus says, whose face is this? And they say, well, Caesar's. And he says, well, give to Caesar that which is Caesar's, pay the tax, and give to God that which is God's. Well, what belongs to God? Everything. Everything, including Caesar, including the denarius, including everything you can dream of. As wide as you can imagine belongs to God. So it's a way of answering, well, you've got to decide. Do you pay tax to Caesar or not? It's up to you. You've got to make that decision, and you got to think about it. And in the meantime, the Pharisees standing there thinking, shoot, I've touched this coin now. He's pulled them into the whole drama of Halloween. And he shows them standing there naked in their robes of the Pharisees, and the others are wearing the robes of fishermen or tax collectors or thieves or whatever. Everybody's in their own costume. And Jesus is trying to tell us, you know, it's trick or treat. It's every day of our life. We depend on each other. We have to ring each other's bells. And if you want to know what God looks like, you'd have to look at everybody in the room. You'd have to look at everybody, every color, every race, every creature, everything. And can you do that? No, you can't. It's too grand and big. It's marvelous. It's beyond. It's why I look forward to Halloween so much. You know, what are they going to dream up next? And we continue to evolve in our costumes. So John Hoops, yeah. So what costume would God wear? A pirate, a Ninja Turtle, a race car driver, a nurse, a doctor, a black man, a white man, a brown man. People that are deaf or blind. That's God. And we're called to open the door for each other and to give each other a treat, not a trick. I worry an awful lot nowadays. I like you, I'm bothered, and I don't know what's coming next. You know, I'm not foolish and naive enough to think that if the Democrats win the election, everything's going to be fine, because I know that's not true. It's really not true. What's the bigger picture? And I came across this quote by Abraham Heschel. It's in your bulletin today. There's a typo or two, so I'm gonna read it out loud, and it puts things in perspective. That there's something much bigger than our world of politics or our economy or our borders from state to state. Light in the Cage by Abraham Heschel. The world in which we live is a vast cage within a maze, high as our mind, wide as our power of will, long as our lifespan. Those who have never reached the rails or seen what is beyond the cage know of no freedom to dream of and are willing to rise and fight for civilizations that come and go and sink into the abyss of oblivion, an abyss which they never fill. There's something so much bigger than what's going on right now in our political world. There's something so much bigger, and we're in a maze, and we're kind of blind. It doesn't mean we don't keep working for what we believe is right. I think we're called to do that. But sometimes when you feel like you can hardly even move and you can't make headway, you can get pretty discouraged. But there's something bigger, and that something bigger is open your doors. When the bell rings, open your door. Don't peek out there first. Ring somebody's bell. You'll be surprised. We don't do that enough. We don't rely on each other enough. We don't need each other enough. And no matter who is in power, that robe that we put on, that is the love of God and forgiveness for ourselves and for each other, is so much bigger and important than anything anything we can decide. So happy trick or treating, however you do it. Amen. Offering today. I have one thing to offer, but does anybody else have an offering? Oh, good. Tessa and Aaron, and then Pam. Who would like to go first? All right. Tessa and Aaron, go ahead. You have to
Okay, so
unmute.
you all met Molly when we brought her to church a couple weeks ago. We have a new foster dog named Clara, and she had puppies a couple days ago. So we have
Oh.
9 puppies in our house.
Oh,
My goodness.
you got to get closer. Can you get closer?
We'll try.
My gosh, look at those.
Oh my gosh.
And we can't get anything else done but look at puppies.
Oh, goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Yep, so that's what's happening at
What
our
an
house.
offering, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Are they house trained?
Not yet. No. Mama cleans up after him for the first 2 weeks though, so we got a while yet before we got a lot of cleanup to do.
Wow. Oh, so beautiful. Yeah, what a nice costume. Pam, what do you have?
I just wanted to relay it. So I was just, huh?
You're breaking up on us. I think you have to get closer, I think.
Can you hear me now?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I talk to my mom regularly, and she's in an assisted living center. And she just told me that she was kind of bored one day, and she went out, and she's been doing a lot of gardening and stuff. And so she decided before the frost, she would cut as many flowers as she could. And she brought them in, and then she just started like delivering them to people. And then a few days later, her friend and her decided that they would go out and they would harvest all the roses that were outside. And then they took them to some specific people. There was a woman who's 102. They for sure made sure they got to her. And I guess there's another woman who's even older than that. And then they delivered roses, and they sat and chatted with people. And I just got off the phone feeling really proud of my mom. Mostly because she could sit and complain and whine, and she'd have every right in the world to do that because she's kind of locked in this center, and she doesn't have the ability to really go out because of COVID, and she can't do very much. They're not doing very many activities, and she's kind of sick of Sudoku. She's kind of sick of puzzles and things like that. But she made the choice to just bring positive energy into her community. So
Good for her.
Wow. You went out of her way to make a costume, put it on, and then go out. That's great. That's so great.
Good for her.
Yeah. Anybody else? All right, Christina. Nope, you gotta unmute yourself.
Sorry, sorry. You'll have to share the screen, please, so that I can show a video. It's just come out on Facebook. Maybe some of you have seen it, but it is sort of a tribute with the children's choir to all of the people who are continuing to be brave and deliver services during COVID-19.
Hold on, talk about it a little bit more. I'm gonna see if I can. Gotta figure out how I can do this. I've done it before.
I've done it
Anybody
before.
want-
So go down to the green. Can you see the bottom of your screen and there's a green button? Oh no, I know what you need to do. Go to participants
Aha,
and
I knew
then
it.
more and make me a co-host or, yeah.
No, hold on. Oh, I gotta get rid of this. Hold on one second. Talk amongst yourselves.
Christina, can you just click the green button on the bottom of your screen?
No, because he has to give me the ability. Yes, I can, and I did, but I need to be given the ability to
Permission.
share.
Okay.
Yeah,
I need to make you a host.
yeah, co-host.
Hey, oh, I don't want to change my host ability.
You won't. If
Um,
you make me a co-host, it just allows me to do what you do, and then you can take it off again.
It just says make a host. Remove. I'm going to make you a host, and you might have to make me a host back, and you have
Okay.
to put me that you let me come back.
I promise.
Okay, there you go. Got it. There you
All
go.
right. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Oh no, now it won't let me share my screen. Well, maybe this isn't going to work today.
Hold on.
No, that's okay. I think
Oh.
I have to change something in my settings to make it work. So does anybody else have anything to share? Otherwise, I'll show you one other thing that is actually just as great, only not the same.
Okay. Anybody else
Okay.
out there?
I got one more, Dave. Here we go.
Let's see it.
So last week we put our dog to sleep. And here are our new guys. Can you see them? Oh, you can't hear me. Shoot.
Oh, we can. No, we can hear you.
I don't see what's going on.
But she froze up. Technical difficulties. This whole thing's going to the dogs today.
Looks like she's got a new dog.
I think she's got two.
I don't see him.
You have to unmute yourself, Christina. Uh-oh. Boy, talk about technical difficulties, huh? I see her walk in there. This is part of the funnest part of the whole service right here. Anybody else? I know I've let people share their screens before, but I can't remember how it's done. All right, anybody else for offering today? Anybody else? All right. Go ahead and unmute yourself there, Wendy and Brent.
Yeah, we can't see Wendy and Brent.
Okay.
There they are.
Brent was kind of funny. When he saw all the puppies, he looked right at me and he says, "Do you want one?" Right.
Another puppy.
For those who didn't know, we put our dog down about a week and a half ago.
There you go.
She was beyond where she could be.
Oh,
But I said, "No more for sure." And then he goes, "Do you want one?"
Cute.
oh. Well, that's it really is going to the dogs today. Well, Christina, thank you. We got to see your dogs just for a second there. So yeah, thank you. I'm gonna hold off on my offering that I was gonna do until next week because we're already at 10:57 and I got to make a costume. Not really, but got to get home in just a little bit here. But thanks so much for sharing, you guys, today. Let's do the prayers of the people with our Richard Rohr prayer, and then we'll do our blessing, and then we'll do breakout rooms. Okay. So if we're able to, I'll start our prayer here, and then I'll give us a moment in between for us to offer our own prayers as we need where we're at. So let us pray. Oh, great love, thank you for living and loving in us and through us. May all that we do flow from our deep connection with you and all beings. Help us become a community that vulnerably shares each other's burdens and the weight of glory. Listen to our heart's longings now for the healing of our world. Knowing you are hearing us better than we are speaking, we offer these prayers in all the holy names of God. Amen. And now a blessing on us all, even the dogs and the puppies and all the critters and the tailless cats. And may you find Jesus the Christ standing beside you. May he be close enough to touch. May he breathe on all your living and speak peace into your lives. Go now in that peace always. Amen. What a great witness Pam, your mom is. Literally to put on the costume that she's been given and go out there and and ring some bells. It reminds me of all the people doing rocks in the neighborhood and painting rocks. They just keep coming and coming and coming, and brightening up my world and my life, and all the little ways that we do that for each other. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Other announcements. Tech study this coming Tuesday. I'll give you a text about 9:45. Wednesday night, I believe we have a meeting with continued on the book of Dear Church, Lenny Duncan, and my Richard Rohr 3-day workshop has been on racism and sexism and patriarchy, and it's a men's retreat, boy, just powerful. So I'll share some of that on Wednesday night as well, and in the coming weeks. But any other announcements? I was supposed to go to Chicago on Thursday and Friday this week to bring a washer and dryer to my mother, but I think we need to wait for a COVID test to come back before I go and do that. That would be horrific for me to be the one to bring that little trick. Anyways, I'll be around. Others that are on the list for gutter cleaning this week, we'll get around to you. We've got our blowers getting set up and ready to start blowing some gutters, and before the winter comes. And tree trimming, that'll be coming in the next couple of weeks. We've got a grant, and we'll be doing that. So if you're on the list for that or would like to help, get a hold of me. And I know that if you are on the list, Zach down the street is the one running that. He's met with everybody already, but we'll have about 10 or 11 houses that we're working with. So, and the rest of you that have done stuff for Christmas in August and continue to, thanks. We've really been going through the list. It's really fun. It's great to be able to share that with everyone. Some of you, I know we haven't been able to get to with some of it, and we were afraid that would be the case. If you've got something that's an emergency, give us a call and we'll put you on the top of the list. Any other announcements that people would like to make? All right, Claudia. You have to unmute yourself.
Just a question. When you do the tree trimming, do you need people to pick up branches and put them in a trailer? Do you need
Oh, yeah.
help?
Yeah.
Will you let us know?
Sure. Yep, absolutely. Anybody else? Any other announcements? And Kathleen, your dryer belt came in the mail for me yesterday, so you'll get your dryer working here pretty soon. All right. Well, with you guys with puppies and dogs, have a blast. And Brent and Wendy, if you don't choose really quickly, you're just going to have to get whatever's left. Okay. Oh, and Tessa and Aaron, good luck. That's so fun. You should get a puppy cam, put it on the website, go to the Peace website and then do Facebook Live, and then we'll see them when they're in their glory. That would be very fun. We'll get more hits that way. That would be great. All right. I'm going to put us in breakout rooms, and here we go. I'm going to right there. Go ahead. Join as you would like. Hey, Frida. You can hang with me if you unmute yourself. You could stay in this room and we could visit.
Well, I'm trying to figure out I think I'm going to leave just because I'm trying to save my data. So, can you hear me okay? Did I unmute myself?
Yep, I hear you.
I don't know what this phone is doing to me today, but it's not doing what it usually does. So I'm going to try to leave. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
All right. Be well.
Yep. You too.
Yep. Hi, Dennis. Dennis, can you hear me?